Alright, guys, how's all doing? Welcome to another episode of Motivation to Change podcast. My name is Sean, and today's guest, we have someone from Scotland. He is a author with an incredible story to tell us, and I think the title speaks from itself. Heroin to Hero. Now, I want to please welcome, yep, right there, Paul Boggie. How you doing, mate?
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Talking to you. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I was on BBC Radio Scotland this morning, so went really well. So I'm still buzzing for that.
Amazing, amazing. And then you're coming, and then after that you're coming to talk to me. I know
Yeah,
how you must be like, that's amazing.
yeah. Keep sharing my story.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Now, I first came across yourself through Paul Elliott,
hmm
through Mindshift, and you're one of the first people I wanted to get on. Now, the last couple of guests I've had on already know their story before we've done this, so I wanted to do a bit different. I like hearing something for the first time. I know a rough idea of your background and stuff like that, and I've watched you on social media and stuff, but I think it would be good to have it as a fresh perspective. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll kind of start with your story, just where you were born, your early childhood, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm from Edinburgh. You could possibly tell from the accent, maybe not, but yeah. So born in Edinburgh. Um, I live in Fife at the moment. I've moved here in the last 2 years, but grew up Edinburgh. Pretty rough area, rundown area. A lot of gang life, a lot of troublemakers. Um, I had a good upbringing. My parents both worked multiple jobs. My mum had mum's got 4 boys, so we were unruly at times. We were always up to no good, but they were pretty strict and they kept us on the straight and narrow a lot of the time. Then, just I was just trouble at times. I used to like lighting fires, smashing windows, getting chased for the police, as you do when you're a young boy.
Yeah,
Drugs and stuff were always on the scene. Like alcohol, cannabis. People were buzzing glue, sniffing glue and buzzing gas. Sorry, that was just a normal thing that we lived in amongst. Then we heroin hit the area that I stayed when I was 18, and it took everyone by surprise. Literally, all my friends started using heroin. Almost instantly, seemed instantly, they were all using it, and I was the last one out of the group to try it. I tried it, and then obviously ended up with a 7-year heroin addiction, which sort of plagued my whole life. I never thought back then that I was going to be addicted to that drug. I didn't foresee the problems that I was going to have. I was quite naive in the fact that probably I thought I could stop whenever I wanted,
yeah,
like my friends did as well. I think they all thought they could stop when they wanted, and then obviously the reality is, you continue taking heroin day in, day out for weeks on end, you'll soon know about it when you try to stop taking it, and then you get those physical symptoms, and then you take heroin, and you realise how much better the heroin made you feel physically, and then that's the realisation is that obviously you must be addicted, and that's why that drug's having that impact on your physical body when you're taking it. And then for me, when that happened, I knew I was in trouble. Like almost instantly. I just knew that anytime I'm going to be trying to stop, if I'm having to go through these physical pains, and I know that heroin's there that can make me feel better, I'm going to always reach for the heroin because I didn't want to feel that way. So that just became normality. The addiction got worse. Other addictions crept in. You know, I ended up with a Valium addiction, a codeine addiction, methadone addiction. And some days I was taking 4 or 5 different drugs all on the same day. You know, so I would take heroin and methadone. Then at night times I would swallow handful of blues, Valium. You know, and I'd have codeine just sitting there, and obviously I didn't need them. I'm already in a zombie-like state. And I'd end up just swallowing a few codeine as well, just for the sake of it, because I was ashamed the person that I had become. I was embarrassed. I didn't like my reality. I didn't like the way my family pitied me. You could see it in their eyes. The way that society sort of spat on me, the way I was treated, just because obviously that I'm on drugs. So by taking all these drugs, that was allowing me to escape my reality.
Yeah.
And be in my little bubble. And I liked it. Drugs were my best friend.
Yeah. And it's quite difficult, especially with alcohol or drugs or whatever it is. It is hard. Like as soon as if you've went too far in, it's hard to kind of come back out of it. But we'll quickly we've dived quite kind of into when you did start the heroin and stuff. I just want to quickly touch on a couple of things before you actually started, and then we'll kind of go into it. Now, when you left school and stuff, and you did say that in Edinburgh, and as far as I'm kind of aware, you get like the tourist attractions, and then you get the really bad places, and it's what there's some bits that are quite like you, you need to survive to get through a day. Um, so I'm guessing way your upbringing and school and leaving school and stuff like that, it was a matter of being connected with all this. Like everybody was in the same level, so it was easy to kind of get into trouble and get chased by police and drink and start maybe doing a bit of drugs and stuff like that. Um, is that kind of what really happened? Did you have any, what did you want to get out of that thing, or was it just a natural thing of this is life and that's basically how it happened?
Just wanting to fit in, just wanting to be part of the gang. If you are not doing the things that the other gang members are doing, you're very quickly going to put yourself into a situation where you're potentially going to get bullied because you're not doing what they're doing, or you're going to get neglected and left out of the things that they're doing, even like playing football, for instance. I played a lot of football growing up. If I wasn't participating in some things, you know, I wouldn't get invited out to play football. Or when other people decided not to participate with some things, but I did, yeah, we'll no phone him.
Yeah.
You know, we'll no phone him. So I didn't want that to be me. So you had that sort of peer pressure where I'm not wanting to be alone. I'm wanting to jump around with all my friends that I went to school with off a night time. I'm wanting to jump around. It was a good laugh. We had loads of great laughs growing up. Obviously, lots of stupid things that you do. Certainly in this day and age, where you have camera phones, everybody and their dog has got a camera phone. I see some things on social media now, and I read the comments, the videos, and the people talk about, say, oh, the youth of today, like, that's shocking. Look what's happened there. No different from when I was wee. If we had camera phones back then and we recorded some of the stuff that we done or some of the stuff that we witnessed, it was pretty horrific, to be fair.
Yeah. I think the only difference was, I was the same with your teenage years and stuff like that, and you're doing stuff maybe you shouldn't do, or you're out with your friends and you're just having a laugh and stuff. But I still kind of catch up with them today, and we were speaking about it, and I think we said the only kind of difference is that we had phones and you could record, but we were not glued to it, so we could live a bit more, and we weren't just in the house just sitting on our phones on Facebook and stuff all the time. But I think when you're young, it depends on your social circle and where you're brought up and stuff. It kind of depends on what road you go down. And sometimes it's hard to get out of a road if you realise that you're going in it in the first place.
You didn't want to be the first. You didn't want to be the first one to suggest something in case everybody that you suggest it to start laughing at you or bullying you as a result of a suggestion that you've made. So you tend to be more of a sheep. Certainly I was, and certainly most of my friends were. They were all sheep. We were all sheep. We had sort of the gang leaders, if you like. The more respected ones, the better fighters, the harder boys, or the harder men, if you like, that we all looked up to these. So when they suggested, we waited on them to suggest things to do. And as soon as they made a suggestion, everybody jumped on board. Whether they agreed with it or not, you would just jump on board, because if you didn't, like I said, you're going to get shunned for it. So that was just reality. And the same really with drugs. Drugs were on the scene like my whole life. I tried buzzing gas. I must have only been, I don't know, about 8 or 9 year old. I remember seeing this guy, one of the gang members that was older than me. He was about 6 years, 7 years older. So he was, maybe like 14, 15 or something, but he had a tin of gas. And he threw away the tin of gas. And I was always just curious back then. I'm just a young lad into my football, and that's it. And he threw this tin of gas away. I remember I waited for him to move away, and I went over and I grabbed the tin of gas. And I'd watched him because I was curious. He was pushing it against his tooth, this tin of gas. I thought, that's just weird. It was just weird looking back now, thinking, like, what is he doing? So I wonder if I'm going to do that. So I tried it. Luckily, it was an empty tin of gas. So when I did push it, it just went a wee bit, and I got a fright. When I heard that in my mouth, I got a fright, and I threw the can away and then ran away. Never went back to it. But you have that thing where curiosity growing up. You've got gang members from, for the age of 8 year old all the way through to the late 20s. There's a group of 40 or 50 guys, some of them men, some of them boys, all hanging around at the same park every single night. You have your little groups within that, but there's 50, so you've got 50 there. You've got certain age groups. So the older ones that were able to go to the pub and able to go to the off license and buy drink, they done that. They would buy drink for the younger generation. Same with cannabis. couple of the guys within the group could source cannabis, they would source it for everyone else, and then everybody was just hanging around all the same area all the time. So you were going to be in amongst it, and you were going to see things, certainly the older generation, the things that they were doing, some of which was pretty horrific. You know, you're watching that, and it's just that becomes a normal occurrence of your everyday life. When bad things happen, it was often met with laughter, which is crazy now. Like a lot of the bullying things and pretty horrendous things, it was left with laughter. And the thing with that was similar to what we were talking about before. If people are laughing and you're not laughing, you're potentially opening yourself up there to get bullied as well. Why you not laughing? Why you don't think that's funny? And everybody else is laughing, you not laughing, so you end up going out and laughing as well. In actual fact, looking back, certainly some of the things that I've seen, it was just downright cruel. Some of the things that I've seen, and you know, I did laugh just because I didn't wasn't because I thought it was funny. I did think it was quite horrific, but I didn't want to be bullied and stuff. So, you know, I would just put that fake laugh on as well. But yeah, drugs were always there, always on the scene. I never really enjoyed them. I never enjoyed drinking. Didn't enjoy smoking cannabis. I didn't enjoy the feeling. When I first tried heroin, I didn't enjoy that either. When I first tried smoking a cigarette, I didn't enjoy that either. I remember getting white and getting a head rush when I first inhaled a cigarette. It was horrible.
Yeah. I didn't like it at first as well. The first couple of times I tried it, and I just stopped, and then it was about 6 months later. I lost a chain or something, and one of my pals went, "Here, this will help you. Here's a cigarette," and then that was me. I was smoking for about 7 years after that. But when I first started, I tried like kind of cigarettes and stuff like that, and I didn't even drink. You're a bit. I guess it's one of them. You either get used to it, or you just, what you said, you just have to do it to fit in.
Yeah, and it's crazy how we do something that makes us feel that way, that we don't like it, but then we end up continuing to do it anyway. And that was the same with the heroin. First time I tried heroin, I hated the feeling. I didn't like it one little bit, and I continued taking heroin from the very first time. For 7 years, just every day and every night taking heroin. So it's very strange how the mind works. But fortunately, I turned it around. You know, I've lost a lot of friends through drug addiction, and most of my friends that started back 17 years ago. No, it was a lot longer than that. I've been clean for 17 years. 20, I'm trying to get my maths here, wait a minute, 24 years ago when we first started taking it, some of them are still on heroin now. And I see them every now and again, and it does not look.
When you say when you were with the heroin, was like your gang, was all of them on it, or was it a case of you going down the wrong path of just taking it and some of them went down it, or did everybody take it?
Everybody, almost, not everyone, but almost everyone was on it. I think almost everybody tried it. Some stopped, and as the continuation of taking heroin every day and every night, members of the gang who were not involved or did not want to be involved in the taking of heroin, they done their own thing. So what happened is we created our own gang within the gang that we were all the heroin addicts. So we all, maybe about a dozen of us who met up at the same place every time. We went to source the heroin at the same place every night. We went to the same areas to take the heroin, and then we all went to the same places after taking the heroin, whether it be a house or sitting in cars, and we just became our own gang. It was about a dozen of us. And so we just sort of became our own mini gang, I suppose. And those that managed to escape it did so. Unfortunately, most of them escaped, and never had problems with drugs. Some of them later on ended up on heroin many years after, and they're still on heroin to this day. So it just shows you, like, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah, definitely. The kind of group of people I hung about with when I was younger, I was quite a shy person, and then I kind of started getting a bit more confident because my social started kind of getting a bit better, and I think we were just kind of, we weren't as bad as like yourself. We did maybe do certain things, and this like drinking all the time, and like going into the town and all this kind of stuff. But there was one of my friends at the very start. He was a skinny boy with glasses and that, and he left and he started hanging out with a couple of people. A couple of months later, he was fat and he was on drugs. And he went down the wrong kind of path, and unfortunately he passed away this year. Don't know the full story, but he must have been, he was a couple of younger, about 1 or 2 years younger than me, so about maybe 28, 29. But yeah, it's hard, I think, when you get sucked into that. And especially if what you were saying with heroin, everybody was taking it, and it's a high chance that you're, no matter who you are, you're going to take it, no matter what. Um, but so in those 7 years, you're on heroin, you're taking any other drug. Um, what was your life like at that point? I'm guessing you're probably still obviously with the gangs that you're with, your friends that were taking heroin as well. What was your life like with your family? Did you have any ambitions at all in actually doing something with your life, or was it just going day to day, want to do heroin and just staying in that path?
Yeah, I was just preparing to die. I thought heroin, I was taught growing up, heroin kills. I'd known many people who were heroin addicts who died. So the realization for me was, once I become a heroin addict, it was only going to be a matter of time. Certainly not, I'm not thinking I'm reaching 30. I'm not thinking I'm reaching 25. So, I'm living my life from day to day. Heroin's my best friend. And from the moment I open my eyes in the morning, I'm instantly thinking about money. I need £20 to get a bag of heroin. If I can't get £20, I'll get £10 and I'll go halves with somebody on a bag of heroin. Or on many occasions, everybody put a fiver in for us so that we can go and at least get some medicine, which is what it was. So that was my life. Every day waking up, it would be that way. If you had money, you didn't have that sort of anxiety, but you have the anxiety because you have to go into these areas to source the heroin. You have to go and see the heroin dealer.
Yeah.
And to get from the area that we stayed, where there was no heroin dealers, to go from that area into another area that also has gangs, and you're not from that area, you are running the gauntlet every time you go into that area with £20 in your back pocket to go see a heroin dealer. So you're always every day is filled with anxiety. From the moment you open your eyes every day, you're thinking where to get money. Once you get money, you're thinking what dealer is going to have heroin. Are you going to be able to get up there and get back safely without getting robbed or without getting arrested? So it's just every day is just filled with anxiety. And one of the cures for anxiety is drugs. You know, the element of fear that you're suffering, you take a couple of Valium when you're anxious about getting robbed, or you take a couple of Valium, you didn't care as much. That's what the drugs are used for. I use them for flying. You go to the doctor, they'll give them, if you're nervous about flying, they'll give you a few diazepam and they help. Same if you're nervous about going to see a heroin dealer. If you take a couple of Valium, you don't care so much. And then, so it's always filled with anxiety. And then that was my whole life. Every day, my relationship with my brothers sort of collapsed. My relationship with my parents and stuff, again, it just collapsed. They were pitying me. I was annoying them because I couldn't stop taking heroin. They couldn't understand it. They could see the weight was dropping off me. They could see the black circles under my eyes. They could see my mood changing. They could see all these physical and mental problems that I was starting to suffer from. And in their eyes, all I had to do was just stop taking heroin and get back to the Paul Boggie that you were like before. And that's all my mum and dad ever wanted, just saying, just stop. And I promised that I would every single time. And 13 times I relapsed.
So you did have that where you tried to stop, but at that point, just the way you're saying it, it was like heroin is better and more powerful than life itself, because you were willing to risk your own life just to get heroin, just to go through one day. Where were you staying at that time? Were you staying with your parents, or were you?
Yeah. So for the first few years, I was in the family home. So I was my mum, my dad, and my three brothers. We all stayed in the family home. So of course, there's a lot of sneaking about, a lot of lying. I had my own room. I put a lock on the door so that when I went in at night time and stuff, and I went in a small box room and I locked the door, that was my little safe haven where I could get out all my drugs and sort of put the television on or put music on and just sit and be. I could just go anywhere I wanted. When I took drugs, I could just daydream and just no be in the reality that I was in, which was I'm a heroin addict. Everybody hates me. I'm looking really unwell. I'm feeling unwell. This drug's going to kill me. That's my reality. So when I took the drugs and I took heroin, it allowed me to escape that reality where I didn't feel like that. I didn't care what my mum and dad thought. Didn't care what my brothers thought. I didn't care what society thought about me. I was quite happy taking drugs day after day. and not worrying so much about what anybody thinks. And that's just the reality of being an addict. The people that actually go through the hardest time are the family members.
Yeah.
And the loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
What I put my mum and dad through for those 7 years, and my brothers, what I put them through when they've seen me on this self-destruct and they can see that I'm dying, they can see that the weight's just stripped off of me. The doctors told me I'm going to die from malnutrition, not heroin. Because I used to always say to the doctor, well, I want my methadone and I need my diazepam. And they think, are you thinking about coming off and all that? I was like, I've not got long to live. Like, drugs are going to be the end of me. And I used to cry all the time to the doctor. I'd be like, the drugs are going to get the best of me. And he says, well, I'll never forget, I'll tell you one thing. Malnutrition is going to kill you long before heroin ever kills you. And I remember thinking, what does he mean by that? Because I was doing a food diary. When the doctor started to notice that I was shedding the weight, he wanted me to write down what I consumed on a daily basis. So I'd done this food diary, and I was going to the doctor once a week and taking this food diary with me. And he would sit at his desk, he would look over the food diary, shaking his head. And then when he said that, gave me a bit of fright when he said it. But then I would just go and take drugs anyway. And then I forget about the fact that he's told me that the fact that I'm not eating on a daily basis is going to be what kills me. It's not important. What's important is that I can get my head on, or I can get my prescription of methadone, and I can get my prescription of Valium. Just give me my prescription. And he did every time. He gave me my prescription. And if I asked to get more methadone, I often got it. If I asked to get more tablets, I'd often get it. And I would play. I'd pull on the heartstrings of the doctor. Because I was always emotional. I was always crying. I knew that my life, I thought my life was over back then. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really care. I knew that these prescriptions that the doctor was going to give me was going to make me feel better and make me less worried about my future or lack of future. So they're just totally consumed by the drugs and the way that they made me feel. And that was it.
Yeah. Did you not get any professional help at all? Like, if you're going to the doctors, they know that you're in heroin, you're an addict, and you're constantly asking for tablets. Did you not get any like help at all of like, we need to try and get you off this instead of just telling you that you're going to die?
Yeah. Initially there wasn't. There was offers. There was offers of professional help. I'd maybe make appointments. No intention of ever going, ever. I'm jumping through the hoops because the doctor's saying, well, we'll make you an appointment with a drug counsellor for next week. How do you feel about that? Yeah, next week. It's like 7 days away. Can I get my prescription? Yeah, I'll do your You'll go. I'll go. Can I get my prescription? So I thought it was used to think it was like a requirement that when he would suggest going and seeing a counsellor, I would have to say yes. If I said no, I wouldn't get my prescription. So I was just saying yes to whatever he was suggesting. I had no intention of ever going and seeing these drug counsellors at all. The time when that changed was when I became suicidal. That was the first time I agreed to go and seek professional help about my situation. So it took me to get to really the bottom of the barrel before I realised that It wasn't that I didn't think I wasn't needing the help. I sort of knew I needed the help all the way along, but I'd just sort of given up on life. But that moment when I became suicidal and stuff, and I realised that something is really wrong for me to be feeling like that. So I would seek professional help, and that professional help started with the drug abuse. You go and see drug counsellors. For my parents' sake, I'll go. No intention ever stopping, but I'll go for them. And then times where I did go and I thought, you know, I'm tired of this now and I really want to stop, I would go, I would sit, I'd listen to a drug counsellor talking about cold turkey, talking about these physical and mental symptoms that you get from heroin. But at the start of the conversation, they fully admitted that they'd never suffered from any addiction problems. So these were professional people who were trying to do good, that were doing good, I suppose, for some people. But for me, they're trying to sit and talk to me about cold turkey, and I knew that they had never suffered many addiction problems, so I'm not interested in anything that that person has got to say. In my mind, I'm saying to myself, these people have not got a clue what I'm going through. They didn't understand, so I'm not going to listen to them. That did change when I met a drug counsellor who had been on heroin and come through it. And then he was then doing that job, speaking to people such as myself that were heroin addicts, that were suicidal. And he definitely planted a seed in my mind, because the first thing he said to me was, Paul, I understand how you're feeling. And I thought, oh, here we go again. Right, that's what I thought. Here we go again. Another person's read it for a book. Here we go again. I know how you're feeling. No, you didn't. Well, as soon as they say that, he says, I know how you're feeling. He says, I was 8 years on, or 8 years on heroin, or 8 years clean of heroin. But what I'd done was, as soon as he said that to me, my mind switched on. We had the conversation for an hour or two when we were sitting having cups of tea and talking, and when he was speaking about how I was feeling, and he was speaking about these physical symptoms that I was suffering from, you knew that he had been there and he loved it, because he was spot on with what he was telling me. So that really helped plant a seed going forward. Unfortunately, I never took his advice. I went back to heroin, but it certainly did plant a seed that heroin doesn't necessarily have to kill you.
So that was probably the start of, it's possible that heroin's no forever, that you could actually come off it.
Yeah, definitely. Then, like I said, I go back to drugs, I go back to relapsing, trying. Here's this guy that's done it. I can do it. So then I start attempting to try and go the cold turkey and starting to try and come off, promising my parents and family, you know, I'm going to stop. And each time that I failed, I ended up taking more drugs because I'd let down my parents so badly. And that shame and guilt of not being able to stop threw me into a deeper depression. So I would take more drugs to combat that. Then I got the opportunity to attend a course about the mind, and what that done, it showed me about how the mind works, the importance of positive energy, as in people, negative people, how bad for your mental health these negative people in your life can be, and they can be family members. the importance of positive influences that you have in your life, the conscious mind, the subconscious, the creative subconscious, and it was this whole course about the mind, about how it works, self-talk, and all these amazing things. And I never took it on board, or so I thought. Like I said, it was nothing to do with addiction. And then what I'd done is I applied it. Everything that I'd learnt on that course, I've applied it to my addiction problems. And I stopped. And, you know, I had a morning 17 years ago in the morning, 14th of May, 17 years ago, I had a moment in the morning, and I says, I looked at myself in the mirror. I says, don't ask for heroin. I used more bad language than that, and I got really aggressive. I looked at my eyes, put my nose on the mirror, looked straight in my eyes, and said, don't effing ask for heroin ever again, because you're never getting any. And it worked instantly. I asked myself in my own mind what I want. Instantly, the answer is, I don't want to be a heroin addict. Right, that's it. You're no longer a heroin addict. I'd had heroin in my system from the night before. And I'm standing there in the mirror with these huge goosebumps all over my body. All my drugs and all my methadone and tablets and cannabis on the table. Everything was all lined up as it normally was. And I'm standing here and I'm thinking, this course that I'd done about the mind and about it being a choice, but not anybody else's choice in life or anything, decisions. Everything is my choice. Everything bad that's happened in my life has been a choice. Everything good that's happened in my life has also been a choice. And if that is the case, and that is true, then I can change my whole life. Like, not starting tomorrow, not starting next week or next month. I can do that right now. So I've done it in the mirror, and it worked. I went and done the cold turkey. Piece of piss in comparison to the 13 times that I tried it. It was hell on earth. Horrendous. This 14th time when I've done it, piece of piss in comparison. Yeah, you have all the physical things. The physical symptoms are still there. What I didn't have was this little devil on my shoulder in my head telling me to go and get heroin because it'll make me feel better. Whereas he was winning all the times before, because I would go and get heroin because it did make me feel better, and I wanted to feel better, so I'd go and get heroin. On that 14th time, when I became aware that there was this part in my mind that was focused and fixated on the negative aspects, everything I'm doing. When I realised that I can tell this little guy, shut up, and I become aware of this little guy trying to cause me into doing negative things, when I became aware of that, in my self-talk, I'm telling him to shut up. I've put him like in a little box in my mind visually. I don't have to do it so much now. You know, 17 years later, he's generally just in the box all the time. Masking tape over the box, you know, and visualize it and say, right, you're a little idiot, you're going in there, I'm not taking heroin. And then in my mind, that's where he wants. And I had this other person saying, you're going to come off heroin, you're going to get a girlfriend, you're going to get a car, you're going to get a flat, you're going to find new hobbies, you're going to do this, you can do that, you can do this. And I started listening to this person, and very quickly I started eating again, put the weight on. I was under 8 stone, and within the first month or so, very quickly I got the colour back in my cheeks. I started putting weight on. I started running around Edinburgh. So I put the music in my ears and I'd just go out jogging, going out. That was my new addiction. So I just flipped my addiction from heroin to running. Every time I was sad or angry or anxious at life or some things that had happened in life or whatever it was, I would put on my running trainers as opposed to looking for £20 to go and get a bag of heroin. And then because I've got an addictive personality, when I started running, it really did become like, I didn't know it was an addiction back then when I was doing it. I know that now it was, but whenever I felt that way, I was just going out running and I felt amazing. But then physically, my body's starting to change because I'm getting fitter. I started lifting weights. I'm starting to do these sorts of alien things to me, things that normal people do, like go to the gym. I'm starting to go to the gym, starting to lift the weights, got muscles popping out in places I never knew muscles existed. I start swimming. I start boxing. The boxing helped massively with my anger management because I was just an angry man. So then I'm on the bag boxing and stuff, and I felt amazing. Afterwards, I thought, oh, this feels good. So the addictive personality that I've got was that every day I'm going to go in the heavy bag and I'm going to pound it for an hour and I'm going to feel really good after it. So that's what I've done. And then that was my life from the age of 25 to the age of 30. I was in the gym or I was out running around Edinburgh and I loved it. You know, I got a job. I did get a job driving a forklift again, got a girlfriend. I had a future. I was starting to dream, like you asked earlier about about thinking ahead, where I thought that I didn't have a future and I'd sort of lived day to day, just going through the motions, living day to day. Now, all these dreams that I'd had about what I could do or where I could go, they no longer had to be just dreams. They could be realities. Like getting a job, getting a girlfriend, having money in my pocket again and not having to spend it on drugs and all these sorts of things were starting to come true. So I just kept going. And then that's obviously where the whole army thing, the whole army side of it came around. Was I'm a 30-year-old man, extremely fit, extremely positive, fully aware in my own mind and how it works and all these things that it stood me in good stead to go and do something else. So ended up being the Scots Guards, all things, you know. I went, done my medical, told them about the heroin. I had been clean long enough and I was extremely fit. They signed a bit of paper, told me to enjoy basic training. I go down to Cataract, 6 months, basic training. That was hell on earth. But because of my mindset and the way that I was, I did find it easier than a lot of the younger guys. Physically, it was very difficult. But again, I'd been spending this 5 years of my life training intensively every day. So I'm fitter than all these guys.
Yeah.
I'm older than them all, and they're all laughing at me because I look like an old guy. I'm old enough to be some of their dads, and they're laughing at me. And then they soon stopped laughing when we used to go out for runs or weighted marches with our big Bergens on, and I would come in first, and these young lads are coming in last, and they're looking up the line and seeing me standing at the front, like, you're no laughing now, and like, how's this smackhead? How's this smackhead through the East Coast? Like, that's crazy. How are you so fit, man? And like, you know, and I used to share all my stories with them in the army. But then I get sent down London for 9 months, doing my ceremonial duties, Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Tower of London, St James's Palace, doing all these amazing things down London. Completely changed my life through my mindset.
Definitely.
And then I'm due to go back to Cataract to start my pre-deployment training for my first tour to Afghan. I start my pre-deployment training. I've got a couple of months to go till I'm going away. I was in a serious car crash. I wasn't driving. I broke my back and crushed my spine. So I'm left almost died. And I'm lying in this field in the snow, waiting on an ambulance coming for 40 minutes. My mindset didn't allow me to believe that I wasn't going to get sent to Afghan with my pals. So even though the pain that I was in, I still believed I'll do it, I'll recover. Even when I went in the polo mint in the hospital, and then they come out after and they say, look, you broke your back and you've crushed your spine. And I'm still, even my mindset, even then, like, I'm still going, aren't I? I'm still going. Like, and they were like, the army were just like, no, you just focus on your recovery, Paul. Like, well, just focus on that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still going to send me. You're still going to send me, aren't you?
So when was that?
That was 2011, December.
Right.
December the 5th, 2011, that was.
What age were you then?
32.
32.
Yeah, so I think I'd been in the army 2 years at that point when I had the car crash.
Yeah.
I was medically discharged in 2015. So I done another 3 years in the army after my accident. But the reality was, because of my injuries, I done all the intensive rehabilitation courses, hydrotherapy, acupuncture, all these things. I had an element of fitness back. I was back in the gym. I was doing mostly what I could have done before, but I can't lift the same weights. I can't lift the same weight as what I used to be able to. There was obviously this injury in my back that wasn't allowing me to do that. But to be a soldier and to be shipped across to Afghanistan, you need to be fighting fit. And it's not realistic for them to send me over there with a bad back, because if one of my pals gets shot and I've got to pick him up with all his kit and run with him, I'm not going to be able to do that. So as much as it broke my heart when the army doctors told me that you're not going to be able to go, like now when I look back, I understand. At the time, I was trying to pull the wool over their eyes. I was going out and doing fitness tests, and trying to make out that I was okay. But because of my back and my spine, when I put my Bergen down and I can't stand back up straight, and then you've got these half a dozen officers looking at you, assessing you, and I remember looking over and seeing them shaking their heads. And it was just like a realization, like, I can't do it. Like, I couldn't lie my way through it. So medical discharge. So I came out 2015. I had been put back on codeine. So I'm sitting swallowing copious amounts of codeine every day that I'm getting from the doctor for my crushed spine. Now, I've got an addictive personality. I'm getting a prescription. In my mind, I'm in a different place. Now, though, I can justify to myself and my family why I'm taking 8 tramadol a day or 8 codeines a day and all this. gabapentins, pregabalins, amitriptylines. I'm taking these tablets and I can justify it to everybody. And nobody is ever going to question it because they know what happened to me in the army, why I was medically discharged. They know about the accident. So nobody's going to question it. So I became addicted to all these prescription medications again, giving up on life to a certain extent, wallowing in self-pity again. My army career's over. Physically, I'm broken. Mentally, I'm broken. And then at the beginning of lockdown, I'm sitting in the house feeling sorry for myself. The wife comes in and says to me, "Oh, see, we're in lockdown, probably going to be for a couple of weeks." And I was like, "Oh, what will I do then? I might finish writing the book." So I got all the paperwork out for the book and sat here in this chair, actually. I sat here for 3 days and 3 nights, just constantly writing, listening to music until I wrote this. I had it all on paper. Initially, it was all on paper. Then my wife helped me upload it, put it all onto PDF on the laptop. Then uploaded it onto Amazon, found the book cover and done all that sort of stuff. Uploaded it onto Amazon, decided to donate all the profits to homelessness in Scotland. That was the first step in this new life that I was going to make for myself. Because as I'm writing this book, and I'm writing about heroin addiction and how I broke my heroin addiction, and about it all being a choice, about how the mind works. I'm sitting writing here, writing this, crying my eyes out, re-educating myself about what had happened those 17 years ago to allow me to stop taking heroin. When I realised how far I had strayed from having that positive mindset, because I'm wallowing in the self-pity at this time, I'd never had to use the mirror. I'd done it sitting here. I didn't even have to stand up. Very much similar when I had that moment, light bulb, right? Oh, if it's a choice, let's stop all the tablets. Everything. The cannabis, I'm back using cannabis again. I'm swallowing all these tablets for the doctor. If it's a choice, let's try it. However, I've got a crushed spine, so I had to be careful not to put too much onto myself. So, yeah, instantly from that moment, I start reducing and tapering off all my tablets. And then I think, right, I'm going to give all the money from the book to homelessness in Scotland. What else? What else? Sitting here thinking and dreaming about things that I can do in the future to help. So I start up a support group. I'd start doing lengthy talks on the mind, lengthy talks on the addiction, lengthy talks on heroin addiction, Valium addiction, cannabis addiction, codeine addiction, all these things that I've experienced, methadone addiction, how to reduce and I started doing all these talks. So I've been helping all these addicts all across the world since the beginning of lockdown. And then it's just went from strength to strength from there. You know, the papers are covering my story. I've just finished co-writing a play for Edinburgh Fringe next year. So there's an actor down in London reached out, professional actor. He came and met me in Edinburgh, and he said, "How did you feel?" He said, "You know Trainspotting?" I was like, "Yeah." I says, "You know, that's like, I say, my story is a bit like a real life Trainspotting, and that's what I'm planning on making a feature film." And so I was talking to him about that. He says, "But do you know that Trainspotting was a book, but then it was a play, and then it became a feature film?" I said, "I didn't know that." And he went, "Yeah." They say, so how do you feel about me writing a play for Heroin To Hero? And we'll put it on an Edinburgh Fringe next year. I was like, aye, amazing. So he's done all the hard work. He's a professional. He's the one that's spent his life in theatres and stuff. So he knows visually what to do and everything. We've just been doing Zoom calls like what we're doing now. Sitting, chatting, what do you think about this? What about this? What about that? And it's just finished. He's just finished writing it. So, and that's another, the next stage, I suppose, of these dreams. People, when I talk about making a feature film, okay, people all laugh and think, ha ha ha, but I can visualize it. I can see it in my mind that it's going to be a reality. Don't know when, but everything that I'm doing from the moment that I wrote the last word in that book, everything that I've done from then up until this point is just a building block to allow me to achieve this feature film to be made. So, like, I know that, and I didn't have to rely on the majority of people. As long as there's some people in my life that have the same vision, the filmmakers, the producers, the directors that have contacted me and said, your story has got Hollywood written all over it. These are professional people that aren't just blowing smoke up my hoop for the sake of it, because it's not just one or two of them. I've had a dozen filmmakers and directors all telling me the same thing when I've done a Zoom call. Your story is going to be a global story. So how I get there or when I get there, I don't know, mate, but everything that I'm doing now is getting me there. Like on the radio this morning, I've just had another invite to Shotts Prison. I've been into Edinburgh Sockton to meet the inmates. I'm going back into, I was in Perth Prison last week. I got another email last week after that saying that they want to have me back in to spend a full day with the inmates, and we're going to be working on something pretty amazing. I can't talk about it on this because it is a secret, but to work on something pretty amazing for that day or two with inmates, which again is going to help raise awareness. My book and my life story. Book signings, Morrison's Supermarket have allowed me into other stores to do my book signings. So wherever I go in the UK, I've spoke to the head honcho at Morrison's and told him who I am, told him what I'm up to with the book. And he's like, yeah, love it. So wherever I go in the UK, I'm going to do a book tour of Scotland. So I'm going to be all across Scotland, and it will mostly be Morrison's all across Scotland. There are some venues that want me to go and do book signings specifically, and that's great. But predominantly it's going to be Morrison stores. So I'm making a documentary, filming a documentary at the moment about my life. So again, when the documentary comes out, it'll be probably Edinburgh Fringe. That'll probably be the end of that documentary. Will be at Edinburgh Fringe on the red carpet, hopefully, speaking to some pretty influential people in the filmmaking world. Some Americans, maybe, my story could say, come over to New York, Paul, we love your story and we'll help you make a film. Like, okay. Right, and and it's just building blocks as I go. Everything's slow, but everything's moving in the right direction, and that's the most important thing, is that I'm determined enough to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, just to even just recap everything that you have said, it's amazing, honestly. And you should be really extremely proud. And even just going back to when you decided to make the change, and especially like is a tip for anybody that going to the doctors or getting professional help isn't always the answer. I mean, we're not saying don't go to the doctors, but you went and you never really got any help. You then went to a course. Do you remember what the course was called and who ran it, or was it just a?
It was Sirenians in Edinburgh, and the course was called Breakthrough to Excellence. That was the name of the course. I've got the folder. I've got the folder there that I still use. I do live videos on my social media about the folder, about the things that I took from the folder and applied to my addiction. So yeah, it was Sirenians, Breakthrough to Excellence, and it's actually amazing. I plan to rewrite it, and have it shipped into the prisons and the schools and the rehab centres, with a little bit of my background thrown in for good measure, and say, look, guys and girls, this was my life. I've been suicidal. I've been heavily depressed. I've been on a shitload of drugs for most of my life to escape my reality, like what many of you are now. Mm-hmm. There is light at the end of the tunnel. If you want it enough, there is hope there. There is inspiration here. Read this folder. Take on board what's in the folder and apply it to your own mind. Once you've done that, you can then change your whole life, not just your drug addiction. You can change your whole outlook. You can change everything that's wrong in your life. Everything, we can't change our past, mate.
No.
We can't do that, right? There's no time machine to go back and say, right, I'm not going to take heroin, or I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to sell drugs, I'm not going to buy drugs, right? We can't do that. What's past is past. But what these people that are struggling now with their drug addictions have to realise is that there is a future. What society has to realise is that not all drug addicts are scumbags. That's the biggest stigma attached with the word heroin. Every single person that's ever taken heroin in life is a scumbag. They will steal, they will cheat, they will be dishonest, and they're just no very nice people. That's the unfortunate reality of the world that we live in. And I hope to try and help change that stigma a little bit as well. It's an individual thing. People that take cocaine can also be scumbags.
Yeah.
People that take prescription medications can be scumbags. People that drink glasses of wine every night, they can also be scumbags. People that have no drink or drug addictions, they can also be scumbags. We're all individual. We should all be judged on our individual mistakes. And that's just the way, obviously I see it. Whether people see me being slightly biased or not, I don't really care. It is just the way it is. Some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life were heroin addicts. Amazing people, made a wrong choice, and did not know how to get themselves out of it. Sadly, they're no longer with us.
Yeah.
But they had hearts of gold. They would not hurt a fly. So that it's important, and hopefully through sharing my story and you're helping be doing this, and I've done 35 podcasts across the world, mate. I've done a podcast in India. I've done a podcast in LA, San Francisco, the Bronx, New York, Ohio, all across the UK. 35 of them I've done. And not any of those podcasts probably came in under an hour. They're all lengthy podcasts, but I've done them, and that's what it's about. During lockdown, using social media to help me raise awareness in my story.
Yeah.
So podcasters, they're amazing because they're all over the world. One of the first ones I ever done was India. And I thought, this is crazy. This guy's in India. You know, and he's got the book and he's sharing my story with his Indian friends and all that. I think, thanks very much, mate. Like, just amazing. I'm sitting in my house in Fife. And it's just absolutely amazing. So, thanks for listening. I talk for Scotland, mate. I'm sure you got the gist of that, and I'm sure everybody that's watched this.
I'm just letting you talk.
Yeah, and it's usually the case, mate. If you give me enough strength, certainly with conversation wise, when I go into sharing my story and stuff, I just go. Like this morning when I'm on the radio, they only give me 15 minutes. So I was pre-warned because I had a conversation with somebody for the BBC, like I am with you. He wanted to know like about my whole story. So I'm on the phone for him for about an hour. And he comes off, he says to me, Paul, he said, honestly, absolutely amazing. I think you're a perfect fit to come on the show. And I was like, all right, brilliant. Thanks very much. He says, just one thing. He says, you're only going to get a 15-minute slot. He says, so we really need to try and condense your story. So this morning when I was doing it, I would get asked a question. I would answer the question and then stop. And then I would let them ask another question or ask me to further explain the answer. Generally, when I do podcasts, all the podcasters love me because they say just like what you said, like Paul, we loved it because you're a podcaster's dream because basically we just like wind you up at the back and let you just talk.
I think I've said it 5 words.
Yeah, but thank you for giving me the opportunity, mate, because there'll be people that will watch this for the very first time that will have no idea who I am, that might buy the book, or that are suffering with addiction problems, that come across this and think, that's amazing. That's amazing what that guy's done. And I know what he's saying in that. I know what his message in that podcast is. I can do it too.
Exactly.
That's a message for any addict watching this.
Yeah, and I think the overall view, I think, of all this is your mindset. Obviously, with this, it's called motivation to change. Now, I firmly believe as well, even though it's called motivation to change, that motivation will only get you so far. So you can change way motivation, but that won't give you enough. So even like this, like somebody will be motivated with this if they're an addict or whatever it is, but this won't do it all. They have to do it themselves. And what you did was you looked in the mirror and you changed your mindset. Now that could have maybe got you a bit far, but then you started using the addictive ability and doing the gym, going running, and then you started changing your lifestyle and you started doing that, and by that point, your whole mindset just got kind of changed from sitting, getting up, thinking about each day to then doing the gym, going running, and then focusing on what you want to do with your life and looking at the army and stuff like that. I just think with all that, and even with the car accident, and still, you even then, like your mind has been that programmed that it's still been that positive, and I just think it's amazing. And well done on everything that you've done at the moment and so far, and how things are happening in the future.
Thank you, mate. It's obviously I'll keep in touch with you anyway after this. And I think with a lot of the people that I've done podcasts with, it would be good maybe next year or something after the play hits Edinburgh Fringe and stuff, or things start to happen, go to the next level, it'd be good to come on and speak to you again for the people that watch this one, you know, to give a fuller update down the line to see where I'm at and stuff. And yeah, it's hopefully COVID is on its way. I'm going to say out because it's going to be here forever, but hopefully we're lockdowns easing. Maybe one day on the book tour, I could swing by, you know, and we could do a face-to-face podcast.
Yeah, I'm in Ayr.
Yeah, that's right on the west coast.
Aye. Well, about 40. Well, I'm in a village about 10 miles from Ayr, so it's about an hour from Glasgow, so it's kind of down the way. So let me know when you're in Ayr, and
I've been Ayr a few times. I've been to the Gold Cup a few times, and I've been through recently as well. Aye, but there's maybe, I don't know where the closest Morrison's is to where you're staying.
It's like well, for where I stay, as soon, just before you get into the high street, you're straight into Morrison's. So that's where I get my petrol. So
Right.
when you are in Ayr, Morrison's, let me know a day and I'll swing by.
Yeah, definitely. Aye, definitely, mate.
Definitely. Now, you've mentioned just things that are happening in the future. The play, possibly a feature film. The main question is what's next? What's the bigger picture, or what other plans have you got for the future?
So the book, everything that I'm doing revolves around the book, because the more books that I can sell, the more money that I can raise for homelessness in Scotland. I've sold just over 1,000 books. I've raised about 10 grand.
Wow, that's
you know, when I tell people, I didn't want to sound or come across as being negative. For me personally, absolutely shite. Because my mindset, I think I don't make a single penny from the book. Now, I've not got a marketing team and I've not got a publisher. If I had had a publisher, I would have sold way more books than 1,000. I would not have generated 10 grand because the publishers take a big chunk in royalties as opposed to what I get from Amazon. So everything for me, just keep going with the book. What will happen is when the play hits the Edinburgh Fringe, when the documentary comes out, when the feature film is in the making, or potentially when I'm going to the cinema in years to come to start to watch the premiere in my film, and you know, and be on the red carpet and stuff. Oh, the laddie wrote a book. Where did all this journey start for you, Paul? Well, lockdown. You remember we were stuck in our houses during COVID and when nobody was allowed to go out? Well, I wrote this book, and that's where the journey started. Oh, is it still available? Yeah, it's on Amazon. You can go and buy it now, and all of the money goes to homelessness in Scotland. You know, it's like, oh, like what, you're giving away all the money? Yeah, and to this moment, I've raised 1.2 million. You know, whatever the figure I'll be, I choose to dream big, and I would never apologise for it. I do believe that, given the opportunity, and hopefully given a helping hand from some celebrities that I'm in touch with, most of them have patched me. But I do believe that I will get some of these celebrities to help me raise awareness in my book, and then I will sell the book in the millions, because people around the world will be like, "Whoa, like all the money for this book's donated to homelessness. I'm buying it. I didn't even like a book. I didn't like a book. I didn't even know what to read about anything to do with heroin. I didn't like anybody in the army. I didn't like anything about this. But the fact that it's going to homelessness, I'll buy it." And then you'll have other people that will support or want to maybe be interested about the story and stuff. So I genuinely believe I just keep doing what I'm doing. And then I will abolish homelessness in Scotland. Now that is a bold claim. Technically, we can't ever do that. Right? It's impossible to abolish it. I like using the word abolish because that's that wow factor. I mean, most people will laugh and say, "Shut up! You're just one guy on his own that's wrote a book. You're not abolishing nothing. Watch me, watch me." Now, I want to make as big a dent as I can. I've got some major plans. I've spoke to the Drug Minister of Scotland, Angela Constance. I've spoke to other MSPs. I have a business plan almost written up about how I'm going to do that, where I plan to go moving forward. As long as what I'm doing on a daily basis now is either helping the homeless or helping the addicts of this world, I sleep easy at night. You know, I feel good and proud of myself, and I feel happy on a daily basis about myself, and that's important for me because of where I've been in that dark place. That I feel that way now, and I genuinely am proud of myself, and I am going to smash it out the park through sheer determination. I'll do it, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Paul, it has been an absolute pleasure listening to you. It's been awesome. Where can people get in touch with you or find you?
So I'm on all social media platforms because I've not got a marketing company or a publisher. I've had to do everything for the book myself. So I'm on Facebook, just my name, Paul Boggie. I have got a book page, which is Paul Boggie Author. I had to change it from Heroin to Hero because the Facebook robots didn't like the word heroin. Every time somebody tried to join the page, they were flagging it and saying, this person sells drugs. Which is crazy. Why would they not just shut the page down if that was the case? So I was getting all these screenshots with people, can't find your page. So now it's just Paul Boggie Author. Instagram is Paul Boggie 1979. But again, if you just put my name in, you'll see a picture of me on my profile. Heroin To Hero on Twitter. But again, if you just put Paul Boggie into Twitter, it'll bring you to my account. I've got a TikTok. I'm banned from TikTok doing lives because I think I mentioned the title of the book one time too many for their liking.
Oh, I thought it'd be a dance.
I'm saying, as soon as I say heroin, no, you can't say that. And then they warned me. I didn't say that again. Heroin, my book, Heroin To Hero. No, we didn't like that. We've warned you another time. Like 3 strikes and you're out. That's it. You're not doing any more lives on TikTok. 10,000 followers, and they're like, I just hit my 10,000 follower mark, and they're like, bye, Paul, name your lives. So I've got a YouTube channel as well. Basically, mate, if anybody is looking to find me on social media, if they just put in my name, Paul Boggie, on each of the platforms, it'll bring you to my page.
Amazing. Right. Well, the fact I just remembered, because there's just so much information and stuff, I've got 2 more things just to say or do before we wrap up. With everything that you've said, with your whole life, what is the main piece of advice that you would give someone right now if someone was watching this and they were in a similar situation to yourself?
Believe in yourselves and never give up. Like I always say, follow your dreams. Always have a plan B, because you never know in life, you know, sometimes things didn't quite work out the way you want. Always follow your dreams and always have a plan B. Always have an idea of have something to fall back on. if you kind of do it. But yeah, just believe in yourselves, because certainly in the addiction world, it's the biggest problem. That's why we've got so many addicts. That's why we've got so many drug deaths. That's why, because people are not believing in themselves at all. So that's the biggest point that I would say for that one.
Right. Perfect. And the last one, we're going to finish off. It's been a bit of a hard touching subject, and I've done this with all my guests, so it's a wee bit of fun. Get you right in your feet or thinking. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, right? The first question is, if you were to sit down at a restaurant, where would it be? The next question would be, what would you eat? And if you had 3 people around you or sitting with you for dinner, who would they be? And these people can be famous, they could be family, they could be dead or alive, anyone you want. Cartoon characters, anybody.
So I think if I'm sitting down at a restaurant, I'm going to be sitting down at the Jolly Restaurant in Edinburgh, in Elm Row. It's an Italian restaurant where I used to work when I was 15 doing the dishes. Vito, who's the owner, is still there. It's where I met Tony, who was going to do the who's just finished writing the play. So it'd definitely be the Jolly Restaurant. If I am sitting down and I have to have 3 people, well, no, I would have half pizza, half pasta, because I'm quite indecisive in that way. And I always loved that about the Jolly Restaurant. You could get a half pizza and you could get pasta as well. You didn't have to pick one or the other. So that's definitely what I would get to eat. The people that I would sit down with, my wife. I would have my wife sitting by my side. And I think the 2 people that I would have sitting across from me right now, genuinely, I would say right now, it would probably be Callum Beattie and D Maxwell.
Oh, very nice.
You know, and that's, I know, like, I've reached out to all the celebrities, all the well-known people, all across Scotland, all across the UK, and all across the world. Everybody, almost everybody that you can probably think of, I've reached out to, and none of them have replied on my social media to me. But Callum Beattie has helped me promote the book on his social media, and D Maxwell, who's been helping me massively on social media off late. So definitely I would sit down with those 3. Yeah.
Brilliant. Amazing. And I think definitely I'm going to, that's a restaurant I'm going to look at next time I'm in Edinburgh. Going to swing by and see what it's like, 'cause it sounds quite good.
Yeah.
Half pizza, half pasta. Quite good.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure coming on, and I think in the near future, maybe next year at some point, we'll probably have a part 2. Because I think that we could have more things that we could talk about.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much. So, guys, I hope you all enjoyed that. Stay tuned again for next week. And thanks for watching Motivation to Change podcast. And please like and subscribe as well. Take care, guys.